Hello and welcome to episode 14 of my SWR Darts Coaching Podcast. A podcast with me, a JDC Level 1 and Sight Right accredited darts coach, who is also a full-time darts coach, coaching players of all ages, abilities, techniques, etc. I hope you're well. It's been a couple of months since I last did a podcast. I had got plans to do a different one for this episode. However, I've just got back from Bridlington for my trip to the British Open that I go for every year. So I thought to myself, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will do a recap of Bridlington this year, how I felt it went, how I felt the event was, what was good about the event, what could have possibly been made better. And then just obviously explain a little bit about touching on my TikTok that I now do. TikTok Lives, something that I've gotten into recently, as well as give you some advice on practice games that might help you. So, let's get into it. Looking for the best darts products online? Head over to premierdarts.co.uk to get all the latest darts products from Shot, Bulls, Unicorn, Winmau, Target and more. They have it all at Premier Darts. Head over there now, premierdarts.co.uk. So, Bridlington, the British Open. It was the British Classic and British Open weekend, to be honest. I never normally enter the Classic on the Saturday, and I didn't this year as well. On the Saturday in the Bridlington weekend, if Bridlington Town Football Club are at home, I like to go and watch them. I've followed Bridlington Town now from afar for quite a few years. I've been to several home games. I have never seen Brid Town, the Seasiders, win at home. And that continues because at this weekend, Bridlington Town sadly lost 2-1 to Concert AFC. It was not the best performance from Bridlington Town. But once again, a fantastic time at the football match. Absolutely love the people of Bridlington, love the reception we get every time we go up there. They are a fantastic group of people. But Bridlington as a whole, 2024, the darts weekend, very much different to 2023. One thing that I noticed from 2023 to 2024 is that the cost of things has gone dramatically through the roof. We all know the cost of living. Let's not even get involved in that conversation. However, last year when I was up there, and I know quite a few people found this on the Saturday, not on the Friday, but there were certain venues in the town centre, pubs in the town centre, that were very reasonably priced for drinks. But this year they weren't. There was no events on for the darts, which I find odd. Last year, I know one pub in the town centre did a wristband scheme. So if you were there for the darts for the weekend and you wore a wristband, you got discounted drinks and offers in their venue. There was a few other places that did that as well. But this year, nothing like that in the town centre at all. You would hardly know, to be honest, from my personal viewing, that there was any darts on in Bridlington this past weekend. Now, yes, I know all the players were at the Classic on the Saturday and obviously the Open on the Sunday. But there wasn't many people around playing darts in the town centre, which I've always found there has been. Normally you can find a couple of games. There's normally quite a few boards whereby, you know, you'll be going in there and you put your name up, you wait for your mark, or it's 50p a game, etc. This year, no, nothing like that. The Go Sports Bar was dead for the darts. It was dead or virtually in the daytime, to be honest. The George pub, absolutely love there. Fantastic hospitality as always from the landlady at the George. But unfortunately, not many people getting in there to play darts. There was a few on the evening of Saturday, but it was. It looked like it was a team that were in there, to be honest. I went to the 180 Lounge event on the Friday night. I met up with Sam Squire, Kurt Bevins, Kieran Wynn, Met up with all them and a few other people. I had a good chat with quite a few people there, in fairness. I didn't go in there as, I'm a darts coach. I just went in there as I just wanted to have a game of darts. And, people obviously got to know who I was and what I did. And I was offering, my advice, my guidance. And a few people took it on board and said, it's great. The advice you're offering is something I never thought about, which I always find great when you get that. Because that's, as a coach, that's what you want to do. I did play in that event. I got knocked out in the first round. So the last 64, I think there's 64 in it. I lost 3-2 to a chap called Anthony Ward. Anthony played really well. I thought the games were quite good. He took the first leg, I took the second leg. He took the third, I took the fourth. And then we got into the last leg. And I hit an unfortunate 26 at the wrong time. And then I came in and he left himself wanting 10. I hit a ton to leave myself 36. And he took out 10 in 3. But yeah, a really good tournament. Run very well by the venue. The guys who run it there at the 180 Lounge. Really nice tournament. Interesting venue as well. I'd never been in there. I'd seen it online. Good venue for darts. Not where I thought it was, to be honest. But definitely somewhere I will be looking to go again next year if it's on again. If that event's on, or if I'm in Bridlington and there's they've got darts on. Definitely check out the 180 Lounge. It is near the American Diner, as I would class it as. Around the back of the three brass monkeys. Good venue. And like I say, a well-run event by the chap. I can't remember his name, and I do apologise. I can't remember the chap's name who run it. But yeah, really good. After that, I then just travelled around the town a little bit. Just on that Friday night, trying to find somewhere to play a little bit more darts, which I did do. There's a couple of pubs up into the north of Bridlington that I was stopping in the north anyway. I stopped at the same hotel that I stopped at last year. So I found a couple of pubs up the north end of Brid, where, to be honest, there was absolutely no one in playing darts, so it suited me down to the ground because I managed to get on the board and get a good practice in. So yeah, definitely always worth sort of venturing out the town if you fancy that game of darts on the Friday night or on the Saturday night even. Beaconsfield and the Seabirds up the north. Again, great hospitality from both of them. Really appreciate the hospitality I got at both venues. On to the British Open. So I'm not going to talk about the Classic because I wasn't there. I'd heard things about the way it was done. That's my, I'm not going to talk on that. But I will talk about the experience of the British Open. So the one thing that always makes me laugh is you never get any notifications through when you sign up through Dart Connect. I don't anyway. If you do, please tell me how you get them, because I don't get them, of what time the registration is for the event. Now, I found it, thank you kindly to Kieran on Twitter. He sent it me over. The doors opened at 8:30 and the registration was 8:30 to 9:30. Now, I'm just going to confirm I got that right because he sent me over the thing. Yeah, so registration, doors open at 8:30. Registration was 8:30 to 9:30. Match play to commence at 10 a.m. Now, I joked to quite a few people that I'd got 11:27 in the sweep of what time we would start playing games. Okay, so bearing in mind that it was said that 8:30 registration to 9:30, match play to commence at 10 a.m. I can tell you now that I still saw people getting registered after 10 o'clock. Okay? I don't understand how that can happen. I really, really don't. If you are not in that venue, and I'm not bothered who you are, if you are not in that venue at that time, in my personal opinion, you're cut. That's my personal opinion. You're done. You're cut. Because it just drags everything else on. Now, as I said there, the draw, I think, came through at about 10, I want to say 10:30-ish. So we're only half hour over. I get that. But it's still 30 minutes over. But then came the calamity and the confusion that a lot of people didn't know. So a lot of people didn't know they'd been allocated the boards. A lot of people didn't get a text message. I got an email to tell me. Now, I got to be honest, I wasn't checking my emails. I was checking the website anyway. But I got an email through to say that I was next on board 27. I had registered for a text message, not an email. But I got an email telling me that I'd been allocated to board 27. So, I don't know what had happened there, but that came through at 10:58. Now, no one had been allocated markers to boards. I've said this before on many occasions. People don't want to volunteer to mark. No one wants to mark. Okay, the amount of times during that morning I heard the control desk calling out names for people to go and mark was madness. People don't want, I get it. But at the same time, if you don't want to mark, don't enter the sodding tournament. It's simple. If you're not prepared to mark your game of darts, if you lose bad, if you lose just by one leg or whatever it is, you've got to mark that board. But then to hope for volunteer markers to start the tournament off isn't going to work. I'm sorry, it isn't. Now, I understand, I don't have this for truth, but I understand that the British Classic on the Saturday, they assigned markers to the boards. So they assigned markers to the boards. That's how that should go. I'm sorry, but that is how that should go. Now, I went over to board 27 because I wanted to hover there because I was the next game on. So the first game that was on was between a chap called Charlie Manby and John Sheldrake. I'm sorry if I butchered your names there, guys. Okay, so them guys are warming up as I got there, and no one was going to mark. So I just went over it and I went, do you want me to mark it for you? And this John went, oh yeah, that'd be great, mate, if you don't mind. He says, we're waiting for someone to come do it. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I marked their game. Really good game, to be fair. Charlie was a fantastic player. From a coaching point of view, I felt that he got into his head a little bit towards the end. So his stats were 19 dart leg, 20 dart leg, 20 dart leg. And then he started getting into his own mind. And he started letting the conscious mindset take over the subconscious mindset. He ended up winning 4-1. Good darts, nevertheless. But that was how I felt. He lost that game. He lost the leg. He lost, should I say? So he won 4-1, but the leg he lost. However, that game started at 10:57. So as good as an hour after the time that it should have started. An hour. Wow. So, after the game finished, John shook my hand, said thank you very much, and then John was about to walk away. So I'm on next, and I'm playing Nick Fulwell. Now, I know the name Nick Fulwell straight away. Most of you listening to this might know it as well. Nick used to play in the PDC. A very good player from Wolverhampton, not too far from us. And Nick started throwing, and then I clicked the button to say I was there, and I started throwing. And at this point, John walked away from the board, and I was like, oh, and then he goes, do they assign a marker? I was like, no, you've got a mark. He's like, oh, right, okay. So luckily we got the game going straight away again. But, you know, I then played my game at 11:14. So we started our game at 11:14. Bearing in mind, I'd been in the venue since 8:30. So I'd had my throw, I'd been and have a coffee, I had a bacon butty, I spoke to quite a few people, did a lot of networking in my way of looking at it. But 11:14 is when I played my first game, and I was the second game on my board. That's just too long in my opinion. I'm sorry, it is. You can disagree with me in the comments, no doubt people will. But I respect that I think there was over 500 odd competitors in it. But we need to get these games started on time. These games have got to start. If your registration cutoff is 9:30, 10 o'clock is when that draw gets done. You don't start shouting out, is Peter Byron in here? Is Harry Moss in here? Is Alex Markham here? You've not, come to control to, confirm your registration. If they haven't registered by 9:30, scratch them. If they paid the money, you've got the money, scratch them. That's my view. I'm sorry, that is my view. I'm running some tournaments in the up and coming months, and it will all be pre-reg stuff. And if them players aren't there at the time of registration, they will be scratched. I aren't bothered at where they're travelling from. I aren't bothered, how much you've paid. You'll be scratched. If my registration says it ends at 11:30 and my draw is ends at 9:30 and my draw is at 10, the commencement will be at 10. That tournament will start at 10 o'clock. So that's me rant. That's me rant over. Anyway, into my game. For those who know me, I don't play a lot anymore. I do a lot more. I do more coaching. Coaches coach, players play. We all know my phrase. But in fairness, I felt comfortable. I felt confident against Nick. First leg, he raced away quite well, and then it just sort of slowed up for him. I left with 128 after a good couple of visits. But Nick ended up leaving himself in a really peculiar spot of going for with 5, which he took out. Into the second leg, I started off atrocious. I really did. Tensed up quite a bit. Went through all my breathing, all my techniques. And then I settled into it. And I kicked on towards the end of that leg. But Nick took it out. He missed darts to do it in 20 darts, I think it was. But it was we started playing well. Into the third leg, I was more relaxed. I was a lot more relaxed. 3 tons in that leg. I went 40 ton, 26 ton, 81. I leave himself 54. He took out 36 with 1 in 19 darts. So I've got more relaxed into this now. So that first leg, I've always joked, if you're in a longer format, and a long format, I am looking at this best of 7 side of things. But if we're looking at a long format, that first leg should be that leg where you can just relax into it. Get to feel the hockey, get to feel the surroundings you're about. So that way then you can realise what you need to take out of your focus in your mind and then allow your full focus to go onto the board. So in other words, are the people coming off towards your throw as you're throwing? Are they going to be walking into your line of sight roughly, from the other 2 boards either side of it? Because the boards are quite close, to be honest. The boards are quite close. So, all them things I always take into consideration in the first leg. And it proved it in the first leg because I was not there with the game at all. Second leg grew into it. Third leg got into it. Got into the fourth leg. Now, bear in mind at this point now, Nick's 3-0 up. Nick only needs 1 more leg to take it. But I'm in my relaxed state now. My subconscious mindset is in full flow. Okay? I set my target out this year to try and win my game. Of course, you're not going into a tournament to lose your game, are you? I want to win my game. I haven't won at Bridlington for 2 years now. I wanted to win my first game. But last year I lost 4-0. So I wanted to make sure that this year I came away creditable with at least a leg. I wanted 2. But I wanted at least a leg. But I'm now in a relaxed, good subconscious mind state. Into the fourth leg. I go 140, 76, 85, 60. That's when I leave myself 85. I then hit 55. Sorry, I hit 60, which leaves me 140. I then hit 55 to leave myself 85. Sorry, I got it the wrong way around. I've hit 55 to leave myself 85, okay, after 15 darts. So, I'm in a good spot here. 85, I'm loving this. I'm going treble 15 for tops for 85. That's the way I go. If I hit the 15, I could just nip upstairs into the treble 10. So we'll go back to where I'm going for. But also at this point now, I glance to look at my opponent's score because I need to know where they're sitting. I need to know where they're sitting. And he's sitting in the 200s. So my view on this straight away is I've got 6 darts, potentially 9 darts to check out from here. So I've got 85, and I did mess up. I'm going to put it forward, I did mess up. I only scored 30. Okay, so my first dart landed in 15. And I was like, okay, 70. So my next dart, I threw and I hit single 10. Because then I can set myself up. But then I hit a single 5, so I only scored 30 to leave myself 55. However, I've still got 3 darts. I know I've got 3 more darts. I then came back up. I went for 15 for tops. I hit single 10. I then hit single 5 and tops. Took my leg in 21 darts. Really, really happy. Nick's then off. Hits his darts. And his response is then spot on. 95, 140, 42, 98. I then just couldn't find that same rhythm. I think I'd put so much into them previous 2 legs that I'd wavered that little bit. And I'm disappointed in myself to say that, but I did. I wavered that little bit in them legs. So, fair play to Nick. Great player. Went on to have a good tournament, to be fair. Did all right in the tournament. And that's great to see. You know, it's great to see these players, you know, playing well still doing what they do on the circuit. So, I've lost 4-1. Have I had a good weekend? Yes, I have. Did I achieve what I wanted to after last year? Yes, I did. I got a leg. Do I think the event can be run better? Yes, I do. How do I think the event can run better? Start on time. Start on time. Allocate them markers. Okay? If that marker isn't there, and I did hear it, but he had to be called out for probably 6 times. And then they said, oh, you will not be allowed to play next year in the event. And I hope they keep that. Okay? But it shouldn't be that way. You call out twice. If the player hasn't been there, then you scratch him as a marker and you ban him for next season. You ask for a volunteer marker, which, as I've said, it's difficult to find a volunteer marker. I respect it is. The other thing I will say this year, which I thought was good, was there was a bit more seating about the venue, which was nice to see. It's odd how you find the seating at Bridlington. I did it the other year where I got a table. I didn't get a table. I just got a chair where I was sitting. I left my coat there and my empty bag with my case, etc. in. And I went to the board to practice, and as I turned around, a certain person who I will not name had moved my coat onto the table and taken the chair so she could put all the chairs closer to where they wanted it, because they're always there. They're the regulars. I this year made the purpose of not doing that and just stayed upstairs a little bit. But yeah, a lot more seating on the floor, which I thought was great. Still a little bit tight getting through. I thought that the where you could get a coffee and a bacon sandwich was a brilliant addition this year. That wasn't there last year, at least I don't believe it was. And another good addition was the bar this year. I thought the bar run a lot smoother, and the addition of the serve yourself systems, which I know have been coming in at racing events and football, I think that's a fantastic thing to have, and I congratulate them on that. I didn't watch the finals of the Classic or the Open, which I know were streamed on YouTube. I didn't watch them due to the fact that at that point I'd gone to the pub, I'd watched the football, and then I was watching the NFL later in the evening. But yeah, I presume that was all run, really well as you would expect. So yeah, all in all, fantastic weekend. Great weekend for darts. Great weekend for networking with darts players. And again, something next year I will certainly be looking to do for the weekend. But will I play next year in the British Open? That is something at the moment I'm not going to confirm. So, next thing I want to just touch on before I just wrap up this podcast is I am on TikTok. So, everyone must know now what TikTok is. It's another social media platform where you can put videos on there, snippets, and you can go live. There's a lot of people who go live on TikTok and they play darts. 501 games, playing using the SWR, or they'll play using Dart Connect or Dartbot, etc. But I started doing Q&As on there, coaching clinics, as I will call them, where I get, I say, listen, it's open floor, ask me any questions. As a qualified JDC coach, as an accredited site right coach, ask me any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. So it could be, what practice do you recommend to get better at finishing on doubles? I get a few people asking me, if this is out, how can I improve this average to get better at, my league or to get into more tournaments. And that is an episode I'm going to do probably in the future, where I talk a lot about doubles percentage. And I've talked a lot about it this weekend, and there's been a couple of people who've come up to me this weekend and I've been on about it and gone, I never thought of it that way. But that's something I will touch on in a later episode. But yes, I'm on TikTok. So if you want to follow me, if you go on TikTok and just literally search for SWR Darts Coaching on TikTok, you will find me. I'm going to try and go live most Wednesdays to do a little bit of a coach's Q&A. I'm not going to guarantee it's every Wednesday, but I'm going to try my best to do as many Wednesdays as I can for a coaching Q&A. It'll be for an hour to maybe an hour and a half. And it's an opportunity for you to come and have a chat with me. I will also be doing them whereby I will be playing darts on TikTok using Scolia. They are a little bit more difficult for me to do a Q&A because I don't really get to see my screen that well. But yeah, if you're on TikTok, head over there, search SWR Darts Coaching, come and follow me, drop me a like, and when you see that I'm live, come and say hello, ask me any questions you've got. It's a great little platform. It's one, again, that, social media is what it is. It's a fantastic tool. It's a powerful tool, but it can also be a very toxic environment at times. And I have found both sides of that with TikTok, as I have with X and Facebook in the past. So, yeah. So, again, if you want to follow me on any of the socials, just search for SWR Darts Coaching, but I am across them all. I'm on TikTok. I'm on X, Twitter, Facebook, and obviously Instagram. But what goes on Instagram is the same pretty much as what goes on Facebook. So that's the end of this podcast. This is just my wrap-up of my Bridlington weekend. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's not really been that insightful, I suppose. But the one thing I will also say is that I went through my practice routines on the Friday, on the Saturday night, and on the Sunday before I went onto the board to play my games. And obviously Saturday was just having a practice, and I did the same routine across the 3 days, and I completed the routines across the 3 days. So I played 170 and 6. How many darts, can I do 170 in 6 or under? And I did it on the Friday and the Sunday in 3 darts. So in total I did it 4 times over the weekend, I think it was. I did 170 and 3. Which is really nice and builds your confidence up massively. I then play my little game of bull score, which I've spoke about on previous podcasts, and I got to 10 points with that. And then I play my north to south bow tie game to see how many points I can get, and I play best of 5, to see if I can beat my score each time, and I did. So practice went really well. Unfortunately, gameplay this weekend just wasn't there for me. Although the Friday gameplay I felt was really good, and like I said, the middle part of my game against Nick was really, really good for me. Once I managed to control my breathing, control my mindset, let the subconscious mind take over. But then the last leg, I just couldn't get back into that rhythm because I think I allowed the excitement of actually just hitting my achievement for the weekend of getting that leg that I wanted. But that's something I will learn, and it's something I will reflect on. So, thank you very much for listening. As again, you can find me all across the socials. Search for SWR Darts Coaching. You can visit me online, swrdartscoaching.co.uk. Via my website, you can book a 60-minute coaching session with me. You can book a 90-minute site right coaching session with me. I offer coaching as well to juniors, to adults, to all players of all abilities and All abilities in all ages and all techniques are welcome. Also via my website, you can find practice games that you can try at home. You can purchase my practice schedules, and I also offer a throw analysis service on my website, which at the moment I am absolutely backed up and stoked on. So that's now going to about a 10 to 12 day waiting list at the moment, because I do that in between sessions. So because I've been away, it's backed up a little bit. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that it's been an interesting episode. If you have any questions, as I say, you can find me online, drop me a message. And thank you again for the support, as always. And I will speak to you on the next one.